In 2024, one of the largest companies in China was exposed for faking $78 billion in revenue. $78 billion. An empire built on debt, built on ambition, and built on numbers that were never real. This is the story of Evergrande, the company that grew too fast and lied too big. To understand Evergrande, you first have to understand China. For decades, China experienced one of the fastest urban expansions in human history. Millions of people left rural villages and moved into massive new cities. Skylines rose almost overnight. And in China, property became more than housing. It became the ultimate investment. Families poured their life savings into apartments because prices seemed to only move in one direction: up. Owning property meant stability. Owning property meant status. And developers like Evergrande promised something powerful: a future built in concrete and glass. In 1996, a businessman named Xu Jiayan founded Evergrande in southern China. At first, it was just another property company. But Xu wasn't thinking small. He wanted scale. Evergrande borrowed aggressively, bought land, built massive apartment complexes, and sold units before construction even finished. Apartments were purchased years in advance. Buyers believed they were buying into China's unstoppable growth. Evergrande moved faster than anyone else, and as the boom accelerated, so did the empire. Xu Jiayan became one of the richest men in China, a real estate king. Evergrande wasn't just building homes, it was building a national symbol of prosperity. But Evergrande wasn't just building apartments. At its peak, the company expanded into almost every corner of Chinese life. It launched an electric vehicle division. Promising to compete with Tesla, it invested in theme parks, luxury resorts, even owned one of China's biggest soccer clubs. Xu Jiayan wasn't just a developer anymore. He was a celebrity billionaire, appearing at high-profile events, standing beside politicians, surrounded by cameras. Evergrande projected one message: success. But behind the glamour, the company was borrowing more than ever, and the empire was becoming too big to control. By the late 2000s, Evergrande had become a monster. It was building projects in more than 280 cities. It employed hundreds of thousands of workers, and it supported millions of jobs indirectly. But Evergrande wasn't satisfied with real estate. The company expanded into everything: electric vehicles, theme parks, finance products, even a professional soccer club. It was no longer just a developer. It was an empire trying to become unstoppable. But empires like this have one hidden weakness: they require constant cash, and Evergrande's cash came from borrowing. Behind the success was a dangerous machine. Borrow money, build fast, sell quickly, then borrow even more. Evergrande's growth was fueled by leverage, and leverage works beautifully until it doesn't. By 2020, Evergrande had accumulated over $300 billion in liabilities. $300 billion, the most indebted property developer on Earth. And at that scale, even a small slowdown could become catastrophic. Because Evergrande wasn't just selling apartments, it was selling confidence, and confidence is fragile. In 2020, China's government finally became alarmed. Developers were borrowing too much. The bubble was growing dangerous. So Beijing introduced strict rules called the 3 red lines. Evergrande failed all 3. Banks stopped lending. Cash stopped flowing. And suddenly, the empire began to shake. Because without new loans, Evergrande couldn't pay the old ones. When Evergrande began missing payments, global investors took notice. The company had borrowed money not only from Chinese banks, but from international bond markets, funds in New York, investors in London, asset managers across Asia. All held Evergrande debt. As panic spread, The company's bonds collapsed in value. Investors rushed to sell. Financial news outlets began asking the same question. Was this China's Lehman moment? Could Evergrande trigger a global crisis? Confidence started to crack. And when confidence disappears, markets move fast. By 2021, panic spread. Evergrande missed debt payments. Construction slowed, then stopped. Projects across China were left unfinished. Entire neighborhoods became silent beton skeletons. Millions of families had already paid up front, waiting for homes that might never come. Some buyers protested. Others demanded refunds. Construction sites turned into ghost zones. Evergrande was no longer just a corporate failure. It was becoming a national crisis. Then came the investigation. Regulators uncovered something worse than debt. Evergrande hadn't just borrowed too much. It had lied. Authorities announced the company fabricated sales figures, inflating revenue by $78 billion. The illusion of growth was built on numbers that never existed. Xu Jiayin was fined, banned from China's securities markets for life, and Evergrande became the largest fraud case in China's modern securities history. For years, Xu Jiayin was celebrated as the face of China's real estate miracle. He lived like a king. Private jets, luxury events, endless expansion. But when Evergrande began to collapse, the billionaire image shattered. Authorities moved quickly. Xu went from being one of China's richest men to the symbol of its biggest corporate disaster. Reports said he was placed under heavy government control. His empire was no longer admired. It was being dismantled. And in the end, Xu Jiayin didn't just lose a company. He lost his legacy. Because in business, when trust disappears, so does everything else. Evergrande's collapse didn't just shake China. It shook the world's perception of China's economic model. For years, real estate had powered growth. Construction created jobs. Housing created wealth. And debt created speed. But Evergrande exposed the risk behind that system. If one giant developer could hide tens of billions in fake revenue, what about the others? Governments tightened oversight, investors became cautious, and confidence in China's property sector weakened. Evergrande became more than a failed company. It became a symbol of what happens when growth outruns reality. In March 2024, Chinese regulators released the full mashtaba of the fraud. Evergrande had fabricated sales worth hundreds of billions of yuan. Fake numbers, fake growth. A financial illusion built to survive one more year. The company was hit with massive penalties. Its main Chinese unit was fined hundreds of millions of dollars, and Xu Jiayin himself was banned from China's securities markets for life. It was the official end of Evergrande's era, but the damage was already done. Millions of unfinished homes, trillions in shaken confidence, and a permanent scar on China's property market. Evergrande became proof of one brutal truth: the bigger the empire, the harder the fall. In January 2024, a Hong Kong court ordered Evergrande's liquidation. The empire was officially over. Evergrande wasn't just a company collapse, it was a warning. When growth is built on debt and trust is built on deception, the fall isn't a possibility, it's inevitable.